Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I hope all the students can listen to me and my voice is clear to all of you. I hope all the students are studying at home and making their efforts to prepare themselves for upcoming tests and exams, pre-board and board exams. So I hope you would be studying at home and you would be sparing enough time for your studies. You would be doing practice for all these things. For your betterment, we have planned the test, you know very well about it. And I had shared the test schedule in your Google Classroom. Here is the test schedule, which was decided by the administration. Not only its syllabus, what will be the chapters in the tests, but also the date sheet I have given you in your Google Classroom. And I had informed you that my subject, the science, is scheduled on 30th of November, then afterwards 20th of December and 14th of January, and their concerned timetables have been what will be the outline that will be covered is also shared with you already. Now, one important thing is that about the attendance. It has been observed that some students are there who are enrolled in the class, who are enrolled in the school, and those students who are paying the fee enrolled in the school but they are not attending the classes, and this is very alarming situation because some students I can see over here, some students are there who are very regular, very much regular, and almost all the time I see their names whenever I am marking the attendance. I see their names and I mark their attendance. You know that we take regular attendance. But it is very alarming that some students who are the part of the class, they have not been removed. They are paying the fees. They are part of the class. But why they consider it that it is not important for us to take the class? Because if you will not take the class, how much you are serious, how you are going to assess yourself that how much you are serious, how will you prepare yourself? This is very important thing on one end. On other hand, this is very important that how you are going to produce a good result in your board exam. This is a big question mark, and we don't want to spoil our board result at any cost, because we are making our efforts. We are giving you the notes. All the efforts are in front of you. Each day, whenever we have got the class, I'm giving you the material that we have studied. On each day, I'm giving you the video for the revision. And this is basically the advantage of this online learning, that we have got such things that we are sharing the video as well for your revision if you want to revise something, some topic. And these all efforts are basically to get a proper up to mark result. We don't want to have any failure in our result. We don't want to have any C or D grader in our results, because these are not good results. So the important thing over here to understand is that we need to be very much careful about attendance. You should understand this thing. Otherwise, it will become very much difficult for us to manage all these things, because those students who are not taking the classes regularly, of course, the administration is going to take strict actions against those students, because we are unable to understand this thing whether a student is not taking the classes seriously. He is not considering that it is some kind of important thing. So if your attendance is not up to mark, even from the board, we have instructions Even from the board we have instructions. You know that what is the criteria from the board. The science students are not allowed to attend the exams if their percentage is less than 75%. This is the criteria of the board, that if the student is not having this percentage, he or she should not be allowed to take the exam, the board exam, because science students need to have practice of all those things, whatever they are studying. So, this situation is very alarming for those students. Those who are regular, fine enough. I know that some students are there who are very much regular, but those students who are not regular, of course, we are going to now make a procedure about those students who are not taking their classes, because you know that your attendance are being marked regularly. Your attendance is being marked, and every month we make assessment for their attendance, and we see that some students are there who are not regular. So for them we are going to take actions, because this is not a good thing. I would like to tell you that any student who is available right now in this class should be very much careful about this phenomena, that he or she has to take all the classes according to the given timetable. Now come towards the topic that we were studying last time. Let me open the chapter, basically the chapter number 5 that we were doing. Okay, so we were actually going through the types of the modems. This was the topic that we were doing. Now we have to accomplish this topic, and with this topic, this chapter will also be completed. So we had seen that we have got dial-up modem, then we have got DSL modem, and then we have got the ISDN modem. So device that converts signals produced by one type of device, such as computer, to if form compatible another, such as telephone, and that is used specially to transmit and receive information between computers via landlines. Landlines means public switch telephone network, is called modem. Basically, there are two words in it. If you see over here, you can observe that in a modem, basically, there are two words: modulation and the demodulation. These are the two words available in the word modem. Because when we say mo, basically, we are referring toward the modulation. And when we say dem, so we are referring toward the demodulation. So basically, these are the two words: modulation, number one, and demodulation, number two. And these are the two phenomena, and with these words, this modem has been created. Modem, modulation and demodulation. Modulation is the process of influencing data information on the carrier, while demodulation is the recovery of original information at the distant end from the carrier. A modem is an equipment that performs both modulation and demodulation. Of course, that is performed by the modem. But when we are saying modulation, we are referring to the digital to analog conversion. Digital to analog conversion. And when we are saying demodulation, we are basically saying that analog to digital conversion, modulation and demodulation, digital to analog conversion and analog to digital conversion. So basically, these are the two jobs which are performed by a modem. Now come towards the dial-up modem. Dial-up modem, which is used with the legacy or the traditional old traditional system when analog only analog transmission of on the telephone lines was available. So that at that time the dial-up modems were used, which used to dial a number. Whenever you need to connect, you need to establish a connection using a dial-up modem. A dial-up modem refers to an internet connection that is established using a modem. The modem connects the computer to standard phone lines, which serve as the data transfer medium. After the dial-up connection has been established, it is active until the user disconnects it from the ISP. And we had seen that this is not the case in the DSL. In the DSL, number one thing is that it is basically broadband. Its speed is high as compared to the dial-up. But before DSL, we have got the ISDN modem. First, we should discuss about the ISDN. An ISDN modem sends digital data and information from one computer to an ISDN line and receives digital data and information from an ISDN line. ISDN and DSL modems usually are external devices in which one end connects to the telephone line and the other end connects to port on the system unit. So in both the cases, whether we are using ISDN or we are using DSL, they both are normally external devices. So we can put this thing separate because this is about both the things. So what is happening over there in the ISDN modem? That ISDN modem will connect the system with the ISDN telephone line. Basically, the difference was in the telephony technology which was available. Basically, that was the difference. Now, DSL is much higher speed. A digital subscriber link modem is a device used to connect a computer or a router. We will only write about over here about the computer. To a telephone line which provides the digital subscriber line service for connecting to the internet, which is often called DSL broadband. Connection will be dedicated. Keep in mind, these all are dedicated. Connection will not be disconnected, or even if you need to do the calls, you will be able to make the calls. There won't be any problem. Normally, ISDN and DSL devices are external modems, external devices that we use. Now, if you come to your book, you will be able to see that we have covered this modulation and demodulation as well. And we have seen that DSL modem can be wireless as well to connect to the laptop or, tablets. Now, if we make a comparison, I will also share with you one comparison chart about it. Comparison between data communication lines. What are the basically their characteristics? They have mentioned different attributes, different characteristics. But before going towards that, let me mark the attendance. Arham, Arshad, Mushtaba, Abbas, and Huda. Okay. Okay, fine. So they have mentioned some characteristics of different types of telephone lines used for the communication. We can make it in the form of comparison because they have written the word of comparison, so comparison can come about them. We had compared them as a tabular information I had written I had made one comparison that I can show you when I shared with you, but it was only between the two types of, because normally we make comparison between the two, but we can make a comparison between the three by drawing three columns as well. This is also basically possible for us. We had made the comparison of dedicated and dial up, and we had made the comparison of dial-up and DSL. But now we can also make the comparison between whether it is dial-up, ISDN, and DSL. Means I can put in between. I can put over here one point more, which is about the ISDN, and then I can share this table with you. Okay. Anyway, if we come to the book, what is the maximum speed? Number one point is about the maximum speed. Over here again, you can see that over here the maximum speed is given over here, and over here even maximum speed is given over here. What is the maximum speed? So we can make a comparison table among them. Even about CDMA they have mentioned about it, so we can make a comparison table about them, and we can write it. So what happens in the dial up line, maximum speed is 56 kilobits per second, which is very less. Normally, at that time, when we had only this dial-up type of modems, so we used to send and receive only text data, because otherwise, if we used to try the images, it could take a number of hours even to send and receive data. It was quite difficult job at that time. Now, if we see over here in the DSL modem, the data transmission is 256, but first we should see over here ISDN, because I had told you that ISDN was introduced after dial up, then DSL came. So ISDN is 128, and when DSL came, DSL was 256 kbps or even above, because it was broadband. And if we see over here, so over here in the CDMA, it is wireless cellular technology. So see, in CDMA, the transmission speed is, of course, higher as compared to the DSL. Even it is more than 256. If we go to Google and if we want to find out what are the speeds nowadays, ISDN modem data transfer speed, data transfer speed. So you can see over here, ISDN comes with a set of speed of options, 128 kbps over a standard copper wire, broken down into 64 kbps over the B channel. Okay. But nowadays it is basically showing us the basic information when ISDN was introduced. But nowadays the ISDN has got even better speed. We can find it out. Right now I'm not able to get the exact figure what is it is providing. But of course there would be better speed even. One important thing is that CDMA is wireless. So normally in wireless the speed, we have got other advantages, but speed is definitely another advantage. Transmission speed can be up to several megabits. Over here they have mentioned estimated. This is basically estimated. So if you consider your wireless system that you are using, your cell phone, you take the cell phone connection, and when you take the cell phone connection, you can have the internet connection as well with it. You use it. So at that time, for example, if you are taking the service of Orido, so they will say that they are providing, let's suppose, 3 MB, or they are providing 2 MB speed. So that speed will be in MBs, megabits per second. So this is the difference. But they have not mentioned, because there are some different values. So they have not mentioned the exact figure. Different vendors are providing different values depending on the generation they are using. Normally, the speed is less in 4G and higher in 5G, because the 5G technology provides much more speed now. So the telephone line that we are using today, basically we are using with the cell phones communication, and with the cell phone communication we are also using the internet for that purpose. So we have got the speed, a higher speed in the MBs, and you can see that you are able to use the broadband, and you are able to use the data, which is huge data, and in no time you are able to access that data. Now, if you go to the second point, easily available anywhere, no extra lines required. Dial-up connection is easily available. Why? Because normal telephone line is everywhere, whether it is a village, it is a city, it is a town, anywhere in the world, telephone line would be there. Wherever telephone line is, you can connect your computer to the internet using dial-up. But DSL lines and ISDN lines are not available everywhere. This is basically another thing. Where ISDN line will be there, the ISDN data connection can be made over there. Wherever the DSL line will be available, wherever it is will be available, then over there. So nowadays DSL data lines are also available, but in early ages we had only early times we had only the dial-up connections. So that's why. But DSLs, at some places you will find that the DSL is not available. It is written over here that it is always available, but some places may be there in some kind of village or some kind of town where it is not available. But wherever telephone is available, of course, it will be at least dial-up. Dial-up will be there. And what they have mentioned in the ISDN, ISDN is also available at some places, and CDMA mostly it is available because wireless technologies have been spreaded in almost all the towns and the cities. Third point is cheaper than the internet services. Cost wise, if we compare it, it is very cheap. Dial up connection is very cheap because you just need to have your telephone line to connect, and you will take the service of some internet provider which will give you the ID and password to connect to its ISP. So dial-up is cheap. ISDN is of course having more cost, and DSL is having much more costly than the other types of internet services. And of course, CDMA is also having cost, but now these costs have been reduced. Why? Because CDMA has been that much available at the mass level that in the competition they have reduced the costs, and the costs are not that much. Everyone can afford and everyone can have. If we go to the next point, Ahmad Amanat, even yesterday I think you were late. Ahmad Amanat, even yesterday I think when we had the class you were late and your attendance was not marked because I had already taken the attendance. And today again I have taken the attendance and now you are joining. So how your attendance would be marked? You need to be on time. All these students should be on time. If you disconnect in between, that is something else, it doesn't matter. But if you are joining at this time, so this is not good. Okay. Internet connection is not available permanently, as we know that every time we need to establish the connection whenever we want to have. But this is not the case in the DSL line. This is not the case because in DSL line we have a dedicated connection. In CDMA we have a dedicated connection. In ISDN we have dedicated connection. Why? Because ISDN, DSL and CDMA all are dedicated telephone lines, dedicated connections. Voice communication is not possible while using the internet. We had discussed about this thing. So over here voice communication is possible. When you are using the internet, voice communication is possible over here in the DSL lines, in the ISDN lines. So you don't need to disconnect it. So these are basically the characteristics. You should not only note down all the characteristics separately, but also we should make one comparison chart so that if a comparison comes, so we can write a good comparison of at least about 3 to 4 points. There should be at least 3 to 4 points to write a good comparison between them. So I will share with you, inshallah, one table having comparison of these all things. Up to here, if you have got any question, please ask me. Then we move to the question and answers of this chapter. We had seen, I think, some questions we had already seen. Yes, those topics which were covered, we had gone through their question and answers, and I had given you an assignment that find out any question which is not covered in chapter number 4 and 5, any question which is not covered in our notes, and you consider that we have not discussed it in this direction as the question is asking. Is there anyone who has found something? What does it show? You don't study at home. Is there anyone, anything that you have found that this question is not discussed? This question is there in some other words that we have not covered, or you are not clear about it, that what kind of answer should I write over there? Please raise the hand and let me know kindly. If you will ask, your concepts will be clear and you will be able to write better in your exams. If you will do some efforts, of course, you are going to perform better. And always discuss the issues. If you will not discuss the issues, how you are going to improve? I'm unable to understand this thing, that whether you switch on just your Zoom and you don't listen these things properly. Because normally, whenever I say that if you have got any question, no one is going to ask any question except one or two. So I had assigned this thing that you need to find out that particular thing which you consider that this thing is not covered in our given notes in chapter 5, and I'm talking about right now chapter 4 and 5. Because in the coming days we are not only going to have some revision as well, particularly for that chapter that I did not teach you, because it was already covered when this class was given to me. And we have to do the practical lab work as well, so that we can have our portfolios, our practical files completed. Yes, who will tell me about any question in the chapter 4 and 5? Have you gone through? Okay, so I want to give this assignment to some of the students. Voluntarily raise the hand. Voluntarily raise the hand some students who will find out such question in chapter number 4 and 5. They will go through and find out. Basically, it is the responsibility of the whole class, but particularly I want to assign one or two or three students. They will go through and they will find out, and in the next class they will let me know that this is the topic or this is the question that they consider that they have not done properly. Raise the hand now. Yes, anyone else? Any other student? I want to have at least three. Okay. Yes, Muniba, have you found anything?
Sir, not yet. I have not checked all of the chapters, but I
Okay,
have
good,
checked some.
good, good. Muniba, you will check not only the chapter 4 and 5, but also you will check the chapter number 1 and 2 and 3. You will note down the questions particularly that you consider that you need more explanation, number 1. And you will note down those topics that you consider that these are not covered. I don't know that for chapter 1, 2 and 3 you have been provided such kind of topic wise notes or not. You have been provided?
Sir, very less.
Very less. So you will make a list of those all things. But in my chapters that I have covered, 4 and 5, I have given you each and every topic, and not only topic but also the comparisons, characteristics, differences, all these things as well. So you have to make a list. Okay, any other student who can help in this regard? Zulkaf, Abbas, can't you do this job? There should be at least 3 or 4 students, those who should go through all this material and find out such things. Okay. So in the next class, you have to tell me about such kind of topics. Okay. Now I'm basically I want to discuss the questions over here. Just like when we discussed about these questions, when I came to this define network infrastructure. So I came to know that in my notes I had not given this definition, an appropriate definition. So at that day I gave you the notes, and I gave you this definition covering all the points, but basically what is basically meant by the network infrastructure. And if you go to your notes, you will be able to see that I had given you this point when I was discussing about it. So basically, we have to understand these all things, that basically what are these questions and how do we need to write the answers for all these types of questions. Mention any 3 problems which may occur if peer-to-peer network is used for a large number of users in organization. We had discussed about it, and we had written the points as well, that peer-to-peer network is basically limited to the uh, you know 10 to 20, maximum 25 PCs. If we are going to increase the number of nodes in the peer-to-peer network, we are going to have problems. We are going to have issues, because the n number of computers which are there, we won't be able to manage them in proper way. When the number of PCs will be increased, so it will be very difficult for the network administrator to manage. He or she will have to move towards the client server architecture. That's why. And you know very well, in client server architecture, the server has got a server operating system from where you can manage any of the computer system by sitting on a single PC. You can manage, you can remotely access, you can assign rights and all the, you know, all the things to the users according to their caliber and according to their designations. You can do all the things. Then IS, what is ISDN? We have defined it, we have written the characteristics, all these things. What is ISDN technology? ISDN, integrated switching digital network, basically is the technology used for communication over the telephone line when we need to connect the computer system with the internet using telephone lines. So ISDN is is the technology which was introduced after dial-up with 128 Mbps, 128 Mbps or kilobits kbps speed. We had discussed over here all the characteristics which are available with the ISDN. And CDMA, of course, CDMA has got its own characteristics. It is used for the wireless communication over the telephone line, wireless cellular communication. We have written these all things as well. So these are available in our notes. So what we are going to do in our upcoming classes, inshallah, as well, that we are going to make discussion. Because if you will not participate, I'm going to ask you these questions. I'm not saying that in every time I'm going to say that write down and then submit. Of course, your written test will be there. You are going to write it down, but we need to have discussion about, for example, if I take this question and I say that describe any 3 difficulties a company may face in running a business without having computer network. So what you will do, You are allowed to use your resource, just like your notes available to you in Google Classroom. Or if you remember, you will just raise the hand and one by one you will tell me quickly their answers. Now we have discussed, we have given you the notes. You should reply for this. You should not say that no, I will see, I will check, I don't remember, or if you do, if you remember, even you don't want to say. So this is not good thing. So we are going to make such kind of discussion where we are going to have question and answers. We are going to have short explanations by the students, and I would like all the students have to participate. I will open the mics of all the students, and all the students will participate in it. Okay. Now, if we go to the long questions over here, you can see the long questions available for this chapter. What are the advantages of using networks? We had started our chapter Y network from the word Y network. That Y network actually gives you the complete concept of advantages. Why should we develop network? Uses of the network. So I had given you what are different kinds of uses: connectivity, communication, data sharing, hardware sharing, internet sharing, security, better performance, entertainment, all these things we had discussed about. Describe the client server and peer to peer networks. Now, keep in mind they did not say compare. No. The command word which is there available over here, they are saying describe. Describe means separately you will discuss client server, their characteristics or advantages. It is a long question, so you should write at least three characteristics, four characteristics, two or three advantages. Disadvantages up to you. If you want to write one or two, doesn't matter otherwise, because indirectly it is not mentioned in the question, but it's up to you. Then you will come towards the peer to peer. You will define it. What is peer to peer? What are its characteristics? What are its advantages and what are its disadvantages? Covering the complete topic, because in long questions, when we say describe, explain, so they have not decided the limits. For example, if they say write advantages, if we say compare, so we will be limited to only compare. If we say write advantages, so we'll be limited to only advantages. If they say that write two advantages and one disadvantage of peer-to-peer network, so we will write it accordingly. But when it is not mentioned, they have said describe. Describe means, explain means, you have to cover almost whatever you can cover, just like what it is, what it does, what are its characteristics, what are its advantages. If there are five or seven, you can write three or four. What are its disadvantages? Just about this advantages are there, three to five, you can write to two or three or one, so that it should look like a complete answer covering, covering all these things. So it is going to add a value in your answer. Describe the types of network based on area covered. This is basically the question about the LAN, WAN, MAN, and these all types of the networks. So we have discussed these all things. On all notes are given to you day by day, which are available in your Google Classroom. You can go through them. We have made different comparisons as well. Even those comparisons which are not directly given in the chapter text. So I hope all these things are clear to all of you. Our class time is now over. Thank you so much.